Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. I garden in Zone 8B in southeastern North Carolina. I really love having pops of vibrant color in my garden, and this year's favorite color for me is pink. I love the way pink just complements all the green foliage that I have going on. So the pink plants I want to share with you today are either pink by flower or pink by foliage. I'm not just sticking with a list of plants that are hardy in my Zone 8B area or things that just thrive in the full sun, which I mainly have here. Instead, I have just a beautiful variety that I think if you are looking to add some pink vibrant color to your garden, these things could work for you also. I want to share with you this list of pink plants that are things that have thrived for me in my garden, so they are tried and true. But not only am I going to just tell you what they are and give you some descriptions about them, I am going to tell you why you need to have these plants in your garden. One of these great performers in the garden are begonias. Now, these begonias are fibrous or wax begonias, and it's important to note that because begonias come in tons of varieties. So we could really get lost in the sheer number of begonias that there are. But we're gonna focus on these. These are characterized by their brightly colored flowers and also their rounded leaf shape. These guys in particular are grown as annuals in most places. They're hardy zones 9 through 11. With that in mind, it is important to note that begonias can be brought in the house to overwinter, and then you can bring these guys back out into your landscape the next year. So you don't have to worry about a cost loss spending money on annuals that are just going to die and that's the end of them. In fact, these guys were overwintered for me and are back out in the landscape existing just like this. Now, this begonia, as you can see, not only do I have the pink flowers on it, I also have this vibrant pink, kind of reddish stem on these flowers, which just makes the plant that much more dynamic. This variety in particular is not too picky about how much light it gets. It can tolerate a lot of sun. It can also tolerate some light shade. But here's why we would pick begonias to add the color into our garden. They have no downtime. Once these guys start blooming, they bloom until it's frost time. Some flowers will bloom for you, drop off those blooms, wait a little while, and then begin to bloom again. These guys just keep going. So they have become a favorite for me. Next on my list is the astilbe. The astilbe is most popular, I think, for being a shade-loving plant. So people get to enjoy these in their shade gardens, and they are super cool to look at. The truth is that these guys are shade-loving plants. They really do prefer partial shade. Right now, we are in the early morning, so these guys are getting their fill of morning sun, and then they're going to have a beautiful relief in the afternoon, sitting beautifully in the shade. Astilbe is a hardy perennial. It is hardy zones 3 through 9, so many of us get to enjoy this beautiful plant. Because it is a perennial, it does grow. So you are going to divide this baby up every few years to keep expanding it throughout your landscape and help it be as healthy as possible. Why would you want the astilbe? Okay, so we already said it likes some shade and can tolerate partial sun, so you have different spots you can put it in your garden. But the reason we really are going to add astilbe to our garden is because look at this unusual plant structure. Each one of these flower plumes is made up of hundreds of densely packed tiny flowers. Talk about a cool plant. The next plant on my list is nicknamed Pinks, so of course it had to be a part of this list. This is Dianthus. Dianthus, just like the begonias, comes in many varieties, but this is the Jolt Pink and Jolt Cherry Dianthus. So we're just gonna focus on this one and the way that this one looks. So this one in particular is hardy zones 7+. Otherwise, you are going to use it as an annual. This one gets about 20 inches tall and 14 inches wide. It is super cool with the color that we have on this one. one a dark pink, and this one is a light pink. So why would you pick Dianthus to put into your garden? It's because of its long bloom time. Dianthus is going to start blooming for you in the early spring, for me in March, and is going to last through fall. So if you keep this baby deadheaded, it's going to keep coming back as a repeat bloomer, and it's just going to bloom for your entire growing season. So that makes Dianthus one of my favorite flowers to have in my garden. My stunning Asiatic Lily is actually the inspiration for this video. When she started blooming, I knew I had to capture her in all of her loveliness and get her on my list of favorite pink flowers. Of course, Asiatic Lilies come in other colors, but since mine is pink, here she is on my list. The Asiatic Lily is hardy zones 4 through 9. Can you see this one over here too? Oh my gosh, I'm surrounded by her beauty. This flower thrives in full sun to part shade. Now, as my favorite perennials are, this one is a spreader. That means you can divide up this perennial and add it to other places in your landscape. Why do you want to have an Asiatic Lily? In my opinion, it's the height. These babies get tall. This one is standing right now at 40 inches tall, and we're gonna max out around 5 or 6 feet. That is pretty unusual. You don't always have this stunning of blooms that get super tall. So that is why Asiatic Lily is on my list. Next on my list is the Dalia. Now, once again, Dahlias come in many varieties, so we're just gonna focus on the one for today. Lots of pink blooms coming from the dahlias. This one is called an illusion dahlia. So it has very specific kinds of blooms, and can you see the dark foliage? That is why I picked this gorgeous specimen. Now, I happen to have another illusion dahlia right here that has been coming back as perennial for me. That one is going to have yellow flowers, but still with the gorgeous dark foliage. Dahlias are typically hardy to zone 8. That means for me, I am right on the line of where they come back as perennial, but they do. A lot of people do dig up the tubers of dahlias though to overwinter them inside because they are such a beloved flower. Gorgeous dahlias bloom from spring until frost. Oh my gosh, I love them so very much, and if I can have a million of them, I would. But the reason they are on my list and why I'm saying you have to have the Mystic Dahlia, it's because of this dynamic color combination between the blooms and the foliage. It is so stunning. It may look a little bit messy here as we are adding irrigation to this area, but I had to come and show you the next plant on my list. This is a double scoop bubblegum echinacea. Now, echinacea would have been on my list regardless, but I chose this variety for its uniqueness. It has many of the similar characteristics as the regular echinacea that you may know, and one of those things is its hardiness. It is hardy zones 4+, which means once again so many people get to enjoy this lovely beauty. Another thing is it is heat and drought tolerant, which I absolutely adore. And it likes to be in full sun. It also can tolerate partial sun. Another thing about echinacea is it is a pollinator attractor. So we're talking bees, birds, butterflies, all of them love this flower. Now, why should you have double scoop echinacea in your garden? Because of these glorious pom-poms. The center of this flower is this huge pom-pom, and then we have the drooping rays. That's what makes it a unique look from the regular style of echinacea, and I love it. Double scoop does come in other colors, just so you know, but this one right here is the awesome bubblegum. The next plant on my list makes it here not because of pink flowers, but because of its awesome hot pink foliage. This is the Cordyline. In particular, this is the red sister Cordyline. Now, Cordyline is really going to be grown as an annual for most people because it is hardy zones 9 to 11, so it is not hardy for me either. You can overwinter this plant, however, so at least there is that option. Cordyline is going to look gorgeous from spring until the temperatures get below about 50 degrees. That's when you want to bring this baby inside. If you keep this gorgeous beauty in full sun, that can dull out the vibrance of these leaves. So you really want to do some partial sun to let this baby live its best life. Now, why would you put this plant in your landscape? Well, for one, the color, but I think that's obvious. But number two, you can actually propagate this plant quite easily, I might add, and in water. These are all cuttings that I took simply from the stems of this plant, popped them into water, and you see how that's rooting. So I say this because not only can you overwinter this plant if you want to, but let's say you don't want to do that. You can take cuttings from the stems before it's time for winter, put them into water and let them grow. Now next year you get to put these new babies into your garden without having to re-spend the money to buy yourself a new Cordyline. I just gave you a list of 7 gorgeous pink plants that you can add into your landscape. So this one is just a little bonus. It's the polka dot plant. I don't know if you're familiar, but you see this like speckled foliage that is green and pink. This one is red speckles back here, but this right here is the pink. Oh my goodness. You can enjoy the polka dot plant as an indoor plant, or you can bring it outside if it's going to stay consistently above 50 degrees. This guy likes to stay in some partial shade. And the very cool thing about it is you can also clip the stems of this and reroot those. So you can just propagate yourself tons of other baby polka dot plants, which that's just one of my favorite things to do. Now, why would you add this plant to your landscape? The polka dots, of course. I really hope you enjoyed this list of some awesome pink plants, both for their flowers and their foliage. I am enjoying diving into new plants and new ideas and new pops of awesomeness that we can put into our landscape. So thank you for watching this video, and until next time, happy planting.